Hello, my YouTube friends. Today I'm going to talk about the National Association of Realtors settlement and why I think this is the best opportunity for ever if you're a realtor or an agent. I see great opportunity for it. So stick around for this video and we're going to get into the specifics. Hello, friends. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to talk about this lawsuit because there's a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding about what the settlement was. And I really wanted to delve into it a little bit because I think it's the best time ever to be an agent. And there might be some really good opportunity for people. And with the misunderstanding, I hope I explain it a little bit to get people excited about the opportunities ahead of us. Now, before I forget, do me a favor if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, make some comments. Tell me what you guys think, because I'm telling you, this is not the end of buyer's agents. It's actually a really good opportunity for them. And just to timeline everything, today is Friday, April 5th. It's a little bit chilly here today, despite it being getting into April when it's usually awesome. So the first misunderstanding here is buyers have to have a representative in order to see a house listed on the MLS. Let me repeat that. Buyers have to have a representative. So all of the commenters talking about how I'll just reach out to the seller's agent and they'll be able to show me the home and that'll save the 3%. Think again. A, it's not 3%. It's always been negotiable. But B, you are going to have representation from a buyer's agent. Now, if you find for sale by owner or something that isn't listed on the MLS, you can do that, of course. But if it is listed on the MLS, you will have to have a buyer's representative along with an agreement with that agent. And you'll have to be in that agreement prior to seeing a property. So you will have had to sign a buyer's agreement with the agent representing you before seeing any property. So if you wanted to reach out to the listing agent directly thinking you'd save that money, well, the reality is they would need you to be represented and maybe they would refer you to somebody else or try to work something out. But even if you work something out with them, you would have to come up with some buyer's agreement with them in terms of compensation. You can't just call a listing agent and expect them to show you the home simply because they're the agent representing the seller. The thing to keep in mind if you try to do that is don't forget their relationship is with the seller. That's who they have the agreement with. And like a lawyer, it's hard to really do the best for both sides. The other thing that there seems to be a misunderstanding about is the seller can still pay the buyer's agent, and I actually expect that that's what will happen as people get used to it. It'll take time for people to get used to the new rules, but there's nothing that says the seller can't compensate the buyer's agent. I think what the trouble that they had was is with it being advertised on the MLS, and that's the real big change is going forward, compensation can't be advertised on the MLS anymore. I think what the concern with that was is if somebody is offering a higher rate to the buyer's agent, that might be seen as an incentive for that agent to show that property because they're going to make more money. By taking that off of the MLS and making it something essentially negotiated outside of the system, well, it makes it a little bit more competitive. People have to work out their own pay, and then it gets negotiated in the contract. So the way I envision it working is a buyer meets with their agent, and the agent explains to them that at this point you have to get an agreement in order to see properties. What I like about that is if I were a realtor, that means you're committing to me just like I'm committing to you. And I think the fact that it's required may make it a little bit easier of a conversation from some of the agents that had trouble getting these signed in the past. It's a little more comfortable to explain, like, this is required. Everybody has to do it. So if you wanted to work with me, it's nothing personal. I can't show you homes unless we have an agreement in advance. The other thing is, if I'm selling this, are going to reach out to the listing agent and ask the seller to pay the pay because that's traditionally how things were done anyway. Maybe the seller doesn't want to, but again, that can be negotiated. Now that you have the agreement, the buyer is committed to you and can't run around from agent to agent to agent thinking that they can just find a different home with a different agent, which is really nice for the realtors. If I'm a realtor, it's nice to know once I've set up a relationship with a client that they're committed to me. And if I'm going to put in the work required for setting up appointments, bringing them to homes, negotiating contracts, helping them through inspections, helping them through appraisals, walking them through the entire process of what closing looked like to finally get them into their house, I want to know that that client's committed to me as well. Now, if our personalities don't mesh, I would have no problem letting somebody out of an agreement, but it's nice to know that if they stop by a new build or do something on a weekend without communicating that to me, or try to negotiate something directly with a seller, that they're going outside the agreement that we already have, and I have some rights too as an agent. I see this as a great opportunity for realtors. They're going to build their relationships longer. They'll be able to negotiate their own pay. So if you're really good at what you do and you deserve to get paid well, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't still request that. And if a listing agent tries not to be fair in terms of paying the buyer's agent, I think it's really easy to have a conversation about the offer and how it's going to look and where they need to be then. Somebody has to pay people to help. And I think the old system was okay, but I could understand not wanting it negotiated on the MLS. Because to be perfectly honest, when I would list a home, I tended to be very fair with the buyer's agent because I did feel like the more I offered, the more eyes that would be on my property. And maybe that was unfair to somebody who didn't want to offer quite as much. Either way, all of these big clickbait captions of it's the end of realtors or it's the end of buyers agents or however they want to phrase it, I really don't see that. I actually see it being a progression forward. And where the opportunities lie is the people who haven't done the work or recognize what the rules are. People might get scared and decide to leave the business thinking that it's going to be terrible, especially with all the information out there that makes it sound like it's terrible. If people took a minute to see what the new rules really are, they might see they're actually really good and probably a better position for the agents. You know, I know I've talked about, some of you know I do mortgages as a living. So I work with a lot of realtors. And I think it's really difficult for buyer's agents who build a relationship to have them reach out to a listing agent directly or go behind their back or something like that, or work with multiple realtors. I really do think this helps to commit and solidify that relationship in a really good way. There's a lot of very good realtors out there, and I can understand that frustration. And the way things are now, since not everybody uses a buyer's broker's agreement, if somebody tries to present it to their client, it's an uncomfortable conversation, and the clients get upset thinking, well, why do I have to commit to you? What if this and what if that? And the reality is, well, why would you be uncomfortable with that? If you ever don't think I do a good job, just talk to me about it and we'll move on. Like, it really isn't that difficult. So the two big changes: compensation can no longer be offered on the MLS, and people who are represented and want to participate in the MLS system and find homes listed on the MLS must have an agreement prior to seeing homes with an agent. So again, it commits people to each other and it helps make a better relationship. It also makes the commissions more transparent. I think people just didn't realize they were negotiable because people want to get paid fairly, so they tend to be pretty in line with where the market is. Um, I think that being in the media a bit, maybe it makes it a little bit more transparent that compensation is negotiable. I think sellers might have a tough time in the beginning because I think they're going to think, oh, I don't have to pay that end of it. But I think over time they'll get more and more used to the fact that odds are they probably will. Just like anything else, the pricing is built into the price of the property, and the person receiving funds, well, they're generally going to cover the costs of selling their product. The other nice thing for me if I were an agent is I get to negotiate my own commission. I don't need to worry about a seller's agent negotiating what I would get representing a buyer, because maybe I would see that as really unfair. And to be fair to agents, you know, if they feel like they're getting underpaid based on what a seller negotiated in a contract with their client, I don't know that they should have to show a home that pays them too little in their mind. In the case that it's set up now, they negotiate their own pay. I would much rather that. I don't want somebody else negotiating my compensation. I think I know what my value is, and I would rather negotiate it for myself. And then if somebody doesn't want to pay me that, they are more than welcome to get somebody else who thinks that's what they deserve, because my guess is you get what you deserve, and people who are good at this, and there's plenty of them out there, will get paid fairly. It's a service to the clients. It goes a long way. It also might stop that person from getting their own license to just buy their own house because they think they're saving so much money. If they want somebody with no experience, maybe the pay is less than somebody who is strong and has good experience. Again, you get to negotiate your own pay. So, whatever your value is and whatever your experience is, it should be in line with that, and people should get paid fairly. So I see this as a great opportunity. I actually think that the good agents will really do well, and I think the fact that the agreement is a requirement will make it so much better with that commitment with your clients. Um, and the sellers in time will get used to it, like I said. And if the agents understand it and get used to it, they'll prep their clients that odds are we're going to have to cover whatever the buyer's agent's fees are. And otherwise, we can look for a discounted one, but you're going to limit how many people are looking at your property. So, anyway, happy Friday. Have a great weekend. For those of you who are in the industry, I hope you have a busy weekend showing lots of homes and getting lots of offers on your properties on the side. Just, I'm still super bullish the market. I think there's a lack of inventory, at least here in Vegas. It's hard for me to imagine any other direction than higher. And with all the Fed talk and everything else, and the fear that they won't lower rates anytime soon, I think that's possible if the data continues to come in the way that it's been coming in. But I also don't think that means that they're going to have to raise rates and we're going to keep going higher and it's going to crash the market and. I think the economy is doing quite well. I think that the media has a tendency to scare us, and we are climbing a wall of worry, so to speak, which is something that people always talk about. I think people are going to be confused as they watch the prices continue to go higher and it become less and less affordable. The reality is, if I didn't already own my home, I would be doing the best I could to save up for a down payment and get into something. I would just make sure I could afford it. I wouldn't overstretch, because I always think that's a mistake. That has nothing to do with now. I just don't want to be in the position where I'm stressed about my payments and my monthly bills and things of that nature. I try to I try to live below my means. Now I'm fortunate, we have a nice life, but I still try to make sure my monthly payments are something that I'm comfortable with, no matter if I go through a patch of not making money for a long time. So I would hope that clients do the same thing and they know they're in a good job. But I do think prices are going to continue to go higher. Affordability is going to get tougher and tougher. I think we'll see more generational living, multi-generational. Forgive me. I do, and if you're somebody like me, I mean, I love being with my kid. I hope he lives with us. I'm kind of bummed at the thought that when he gets older, he's going to move on. So I think it's natural that people live with their families, their parents, their kids, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction we go in the U.S. Is things like lumber and labor and gas go higher and higher. Inflation is a pretty natural thing. It's something that tends to happen year in and year out. The past 10 to 15 years of things becoming less and less expensive, to me, that's abnormal. In a strong, healthy economy, you want to see growth, and growth means higher prices. Anyway, I'll shut up. I could talk about that stuff forever. Thumbs up, subscribe, like, comment. Tell me what you guys think about this new settlement and what you think will happen with the markets. Have a great day.